Alan, I've rushed back as fast as I can. I'm hearing all kinds of rumours. Tell me it's not true, son. You've seen them too. Oh, it must be a misunderstanding. Hold on, let me call him. It's ringing, Alan. It's ringing. Hey, what's all this I'm hearing? Come on, tell me. No. Hey, no, come on. But we were in a Mongolian prison together the time of the Northern Mariana Islands, that party at Matt Damon's house. Come on, we've always been there for each other. Change your mind, Nom. It's not too late. Nom. Okay, brace yourselves, everybody. We're going to start today's episode with the greatest act of treachery you have ever seen in Football Manager YouTube. And I'm not even talking about our local rivals, Dobfather, stealing one of our youth prospects that we will never see wear the Dob shirt. No. What I'm talking about is much worse. I did warn you that this would be bad. I'm afraid that second tier Kershko, a club that we defeated in a relegation playout not 2 seasons ago, have come in and offered Nom the job as first team manager. Now, like me, you will of course be confident that the big man would turn it down. And you would be wrong. He left in the middle of the night. He walked all the way there and he has been installed as the coach of the ambitious second-tier side. The players were absolutely shell-shocked, and I'm not sure I helped the situation where I said a few things that, in hindsight, may have been regrettable when I was contacted by the press. So we've had to act quickly. Unfortunately, we had an applicant for the vacant assistant manager's position from Callum Hayes, who agreed to sign up as a channel member, no less, as well as becoming a top-tier patron. And for that kind of support, you of course get your spot in the dugout, but these are big shoes to fill. Quite literally, Nom has size 21 feet, but if anybody can fill them, it's Callum. And since we saw you last, it's not like it's all been bad news. Whilst Jan Oblak was being named the best player in Slovenia for the last calendar year, look who was winning the Slovenian Youth Player of the Year if it wasn't old dirty Denis Valencic, with 22 goals in 41 games. Now, the transfer window is now closed, but we did have to fend off some offers for our starlets. But once it slammed shut, they were all eager to open contract negotiations. And as well as getting Dirty Den and Martin Ivicic to commit to new deals without minimum fee release clauses, Matija Kaučić also agreed a new deal as well. But back to the tale of woe, because we're going to show you our latest youth intake in a moment, and it was appalling. So even though he still had 16 months to run on his contract, we've sacked head of youth development Alexander Jeberic. Now, we haven't replaced our head of youth development yet. The advert is out in the job centre, but to be brutally honest with you, I think we're better off with nobody in that chair rather than the previous incumbent. Despite him having a professional personality, it's not been reflected in the personalities of the players that he's brought through, and in terms of their potential, they have been atrocious. We weren't expecting miracles with this intake. Granted, he said that we would have at best one C-grade winger, and so it has proved. This is a below average intake. No elite talents coming through at all. We've got 2 top talents. Neither of them I'm offering contracts to. Here is that winger, Mia Jarl, who I think just has no potential whatsoever. They are poor in the air, unambitious. They need to improve in the final third, and the list of improvements goes on. They're inconsistent. They're fairly susceptible to injuries. They lack any kind of game intelligence. Bit of a killer when you are a winger. They've got a decent lick of pace about them, but they're only operating at 2 levels below the one that we're playing. I don't think this player is worthy of a contract, and neither is the other top talent that came through, Matej Zelkovic. Again, unambitious, very, very inconsistent, lack of flair. They don't fit in with the rest of the squad. They should be improving their passing. They've got a competitive streak. They can't mark. Nothing about this player grabs me as a potential first teamer. In total, I've only taken on 2 of the intake that came through. Have a look at the good talents, and the word good already implies that they probably won't have the potential to make it as a top-flight player. Well, we've got Thomas Baranya. This time, we're dealing with another unambitious personality. What about Kovac? Well, he is just fickle. That's the best of the personalities you're going to see. We've got Pradanovic, low determination, always a non-starter. What about Matko? Unambitious again. It's becoming a bit of a theme. Next up, we have Nikola Kander, casual. Probably one of the worst personalities out there. And then we've also got Slavko Bishak. Yeah, you guessed it, another unambitious player. The two that we're taking on are not even great. I have no hope of them ever appearing for the first team. They're just there to bulk out the under-19s a little. We're getting a new goalkeeper in the form of Dalibor Kern, a balanced personality, currently operating at a third-tier level. They've got decent goal kicks. I mean, I ask you, is that the best you're going to get from a goalkeeper? Well, it is for us, I'm afraid. And up front, we're also taking on Zan, the man who loves a picnic, 5'9", fairly professional. Yep, there's some serious gaps in there if you look closely, but might be the best of the options that have come through. And certainly at an under-19 level, they will at least get a little game time. Everybody else looks absolutely hopeless, but the youth players that we have had through in recent years are starting to get a little bit good. So the spine of our team now is made up almost entirely of our own academy products. In goal, we've got Alan Seifer, who's now up to 15 league appearances this season. It's not been a stunning campaign, but he only turned 17 back in August, so he's still got plenty of development left to go. He's training quite nicely considering he's only got a balanced personality. He's currently operating at a second division level, but I think in here somewhere it mentions that he can still improve a decent amount. He's got good reflexes and agility. He's fairly consistent, and I think this could be our first team goalkeeper for a number of years. At the back, I'm starting to become quite attached to Martin Puchko, who averaged above a 7 in Europe, and is not a million miles off averaging a 7 in the league for a player that is just 18 years old. He goes from strength to strength, and the thing I like about him the most, which we don't have much of amongst our youth players that are coming through, is that he has a fair amount of pace, but I'm sure when he first came through, it described him as a fairly slow player, so he's clearly made some huge improvements to how quickly he can recover back there. Alongside him for the last game, we played Matthias Schallemann. I'm still not sure he's ever going to develop into a first-choice central defender, but we had an injury to Mitrovic, so Schallemann is probably going to be playing today. But further forward, we've now got Matija Kaučić committed to the club. He tends to be fickle, but he was willing to enter into contract negotiation talks once the transfer window closed. His minimum fee release clause has gone, and hopefully we can continue to build our midfield around him. And then up front, Martin Ivatic, short of goals this season, but still developing nicely, has been partnered for the bulk of the campaign with Denis Valencic in our new offset 4-4-2 formation, for which we will show you the results of shortly. But check out Dirty Dennis's season, 27 goals in 32 starts, 6 in 4 in Europe, and 21 league goals in just 27 appearances, 28 appearances, 27 of them starts this season. Dirty Dennis is becoming one of Slovenia's top marksmen. He's a regular at under 21 level. He's just signed a new contract with 4 years to run on it. I think he's going to be a key player for us for the next few years. I'm going to be brutally honest. When we were in this goalless season here, Valencic's second with the club, I was starting to have concerns as to whether he would ever go on and be any kind of player at all. But since he scored 4 goals against Olympiacos over 2 legs in Europe earlier in the season, well, he has put all of my fears to rest. And I think by the time he hits his 21st, 22nd birthday, he might be on the cusp of maybe breaking into the full Slovenia squad. He had a little bit of a knock for the last game as well. So we've also been developing another youngster, Marco Pescia, who is another striker that I think has potential. 18 years old now. He's been slow to break into the first team. He scored 11 goals for the youths this season with a professional personality. He does train pretty well, and it also says that he's a good finisher as well as being decent in the air. So we're going to try and build him into one of our backup strikers over the next season or two. He managed to score 2 goals in a game earlier this season, so he's opened his account for the club. And in this formation, form has been pretty decent since the winter break. So let's run you through it. It's not a solid sheet of green, but when you compare it to the form that we went into the winter break with, it's certainly much improved on that. We came out after the 2-month layoff and faced Alumni, and we absolutely blitzed them with a 3-0 win before 2 defeats in a row, one to Bravo and another to Olympia. Olympia seemed to be running away with the league a little this season, so that was no disgrace, especially when you consider we actually performed pretty well. 9 shots, 3 on target, the same number on target as them. We actually shaded the XG. We just got unfortunate that they scored a goal on the counter-attack. Otherwise, performances were looking good, so we didn't panic. We continued with the same formation, and we pressed on and beat Telia 3-0 in the next game, before another goal from Dirty Dennis Valencic allowed us to pick up a point in the game against Copper, despite only having 10 men. We picked up another 3-0 win when we beat Triglav, and this was the game where Pescia got both of his goals. We were 1-0 down to Maribor after they scored in the 86th minute, but in the 94th, Simon Gregorine picked up a point. And heading into stoppage time of the derby game against Domjala, we were trailing 2-1 before Gregorine scored in the 91st, as well as the 94th minute to turn defeat into a win in the space of injury time. And we scored late again in our most recent game against Alumni as Dirty Dennis Valencic got us a goal in the 86th minute, but this time injury time cost us, as with the final kick of the game, Alumni equalised. But you'll see from the XG, we probably just about deserved the win. At least we deserved the point. And this offset 4-4-2 has been performing pretty well for us since we switched to it. It seems to suit the players, and the hero is Simon Gregorine, who does not want to be playing as a left winger, but we're trying to rebrand him as one because he does have good pace, and we don't have many players in the squad that do, and he's been superb so far. So let's show you where all that leaves us in the league. So we've got 8 games left to go of the season. The rest of the teams only have 7. Tonight is a game in hand. It's a midweek game under the lights. We're in 6th place in the table, but we are comfortably clear of the relegation zone. In fact, we're 6 points clear of Telia, who are 1 place behind us, and a win tonight would lift us up into 4th, which, as things stand, would be a European qualification spot, although that does depend on who the winner of the cup is. If it's one of the top 3 that win the cup this season, 4th place will qualify for Europe. So I think that has to be our goal as we press into the final quarter of the season. A win tonight is going to go a long way to helping us achieve our aim. Let's show you the team that we're going to be up against, though. Tonight, we're up against a Tabor Shazana side that have lost 7 of their last 8 league games. And the last time we faced them, Dirty Dennis Valencic was on the score sheet with a brace as we picked up a 2-0 victory. This poor run of form has seen them slip down the table, and they're only 5 points clear of Alumni in that play-out spot. And manager Dusan Kosic will be desperate to get their season back on track as Dob face Tabor Shazana. So we are bringing Dirty Dennis back into this game today as we are in our all blue, and although Darko Mitrovic has now returned from injury, he is still struggling for a little bit of match sharpness, so he starts on the bench for us today. But depending on just how bad Mateusz Shalaman's performance is at half-time, we might need to bring him on early. It's often against these poorer sides in the division, by the way, that we've struggled a little this season. We don't have the most adventurous attack, and we don't have the most gung-ho tactic that we're playing at the moment. We're more of a solid team that does well against sides in the top half of the table, not always so great against the sides that are struggling themselves. So tonight, Well, we need to try and score early, I think, to alleviate a bit of pressure, make Tabor Shajana come at us, and then hopefully we'll be able to pick them off on the counter-attack and secure a comfortable win. That is the plan, at least, as Dirty Dennis rises at the near post and goes close. But on 10 minutes, we've had 2 efforts. Neither of them have been on target. The XG is very even, and we sneak into another highlight now. Ivacic has come deep. Here is the danger man for the opposition, Shalaman. Anything could happen when he's on the pitch. He is paceless, he's poor positionally, and he gets caught on the ball far too often. And yet he is our third best centre-back, so get used to him. He's here for the next few seasons at least. And then, all right on cue, a man dashes in behind him and scores an opening goal for a Tabor Shajana side that are in no form at all. And there is the Shalaman effect. He's got, a 2-yard head start. I did say he was poor positionally. He's got no chance of catching his man. No inclination to catch his man either, I would say. We're a goal down on 13. We've got a corner to try and get back into the game. Kaucic is going to be on it. He might look at the Mitrovic at the far post. Instead, he's gone right across the 6-yard box. And Gregorine is wriggling into the area. And there is the leading marksman in the Slovenian top division. And who thought we'd have been saying that even 12 months ago? But Dennis now has a real eye for goal. We've been training him in his finishing over the last couple of months. And I don't know whether that's made a bit of an impact because he's now scoring chances that before he was missing. And we've got ourselves back into the game. But for how long? Because now our opponents have a corner and they've slung the ball back into our box. We've headed it clear. Ivacic is almost chasing it down. There was some semblance of almost effort there. In fact, he's had another little nibble at it. He's still not come away with the ball, bless him. Don't think his strength is that good. But he had a good go. Krishnik heads it directly to the opposition. And I think that was Pushko on the line that managed to block that effort. That was far too close to another Tabor Shajana goal for my liking. And we're not keeping enough clean sheets at the moment. We do look a little vulnerable. I think we need to get Mitrovic back into this side as soon as we can. The press at the front is not that passionate, is it? They are dawdling, I would say. And we've been undone again, and we deserve to be 2-0 down. And I don't think it was Shalaman's fault that time. I think it was Pushko who lost his man, and the same player picks up his second goal of the game. He's a good striker, by the way, this player. Regularly in the top 3 scorers of the division over the last few seasons. And I'm afraid Sifa in goal didn't really even get close to that one. And we're down again, and we've got it all to do. We've given the ball away. We're going to put out a shout. We're going to demand more of the team because this is a little listless currently. And a third goal for Tabor Shajana here, and the game is done, I would fear. And we're only on the 26-minute mark. Can we try and rob it back? Because this is looking far too easy for our opponents currently. I think we need to step up the press for the second half. And I might even switch to an unconventional formation at the second half that we have been using in a couple of the games. We're playing really in the last 10 minutes when we've been trying to get back into matches where we were behind. And it's worked well. And I think we might need it in this game because we're lucky not to be a third down there. So this is what we've been switching to when we've been behind late in games, and we're going to give it a whirl from half-time in this one. And I'm also thinking Shalaman is going to have to make way because a Mitrovic with just one leg is going to perform better than him, I think. We're going to move Ivacic in to be an attacking midfielder. Gregorine and Gajic are going to move up from the wings and support Valencic up front. And we're going to go more positive and a little bit wider. We are training this tactic, so hopefully the familiarity of it is building. We're going to try and use it to drag ourselves back into this game. Watch out for Gregorine, by the way, who's been pulling out wide from that deep line forward situation and getting goals for us when we've been switching to this. Hopefully he can do the same for us today, but it's our opponents that have got a free kick. And unfortunately, it looks like a third goal. The referee's reviewing it, there might have been an offside during the initial phase of play. I think that's a little bit wishful thinking. Indeed it is. And we are now 3-1 down. This is not necessarily a result of changing tactic. That's more just a good strike from the edge of the area and poor aerial play from the free kick. But there is not a lot going right for us in this game. Kaučić has got a free kick. His goes over the bar. We've only got, 28 minutes left to try and rescue this game. Valencic and Gregorin are playing well. Everybody else is playing poorly. On the balance of play, I don't think we deserve to be 2 goals down. We certainly probably shouldn't be level. But we could have got a goal back at the far post there. It's gone behind for a goal kick. Now the highlights are starting to come with a little more regularity. And against a side that have only won once in the last 8 games, well, if this result stays the way it is going to be a very poor performance. And all of those people in the press that were saying that it was Nom that was always the true brains of the situation, well, they are going to have more fuel to work with. And you know that the big man is somewhere near Kirschko right now in his apartment, just with a wry smile on his face. He would like nothing more than to join us in this division next season and see us relegated. He really has gone from hero to evil villain now, and we are approaching an XG of 2 ourselves and have just 1 goal to show for it. And this has been a pretty poor performance all round, and it really has shown me that I don't think the formation that we're playing against the big teams is really cutting it against the little teams. And certainly next season, if we're competing in this division once more, we might need something that's a little bit more expansive in order to achieve our potential. So rather than finish the episode in 4th place, we are finishing it in 6th. We've got 7 games left this season. There is still a chance for us to finish in those European places, but it's going to be very, very tight. We'll show you what kind of situation we're in when we come back for the final episode of Season 5 of The Dobfather.